Hi, my name's Steve from the Stone Crafting Workshop. If you've seen any of my previous videos about this Ferrex mini grinder, you'll know that I'm quite a fan of the tool. However, I don't ever use these wheels that it comes equipped with. I've got a bench grinder that I use for sharpening tools. So I'm going to change those, and I'm going to try and convert this mini grinder into what is effectively a marble crafting workstation. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mount the bench grinder, this grinder, onto a heavy base. I've cut this piece of, it's 30mm MDF, so it's quite a hefty lump of timber. And I'm going to fix the grinder onto the end like that. I've already drilled down in two places through the rubber feet, and I've got two screws, and each of the screws has a washer on it. And now I'm just going to screw those to the MDF firmly. So that's the grinder securely fixed to the lump of timber. I'll put that back on in a minute. Next job, I'm going to change this wheel here on this side. That's the next thing I'm going to do. And you can just hold the spindle using the slot in the end of the thing. That's it. That's it. Anti-clockwise on this side. Let's take the wheel off. Okay. Actually, it came off easily in the end. Now, what I'm going to put on this side is a hard felt wheel, like that. It should just fit straight over. It's a 3-inch felt wheel with a 10mm bore. Oops, works the other way, goes in reverse. Just hold the shaft with the screwdriver and tighten it on, and then replace the cover. One missing. I'll find that another day. This felt bob is used for, it's a polishing bob, and I'm calling it a bob, but it's a wheel, and you use it with a polishing compound like that, a polishing wax compound, and you just run the machine, press that onto the machine so that you feed that wheel with the polishing compound, and then you press your marble against it and it will polish. It'll give the final gloss to any marble polishing work you've done. You might have to adjust this, but actually that's perfectly all right. You want this bracket as close to the wheel as it'll go without actually touching it, because that's a safety measure, because it means your fingers won't get dragged down into the hole. Not that that's much of a risk with this particular machine. The next job is to change this one. It's not very difficult to do. 3 screws again to take off this cover. This is the end of the machine that has the flex drive screwed to it. Okay, so it's slightly more complicated, but in fact it's very, very simple. Simply undo those 3 screws, put that to one side carefully, and don't lose the parts. Now on this one you can see you've got a fitting on the end of the shaft, which is to accept the square fitting in the end of your shaft drive. And you can just take that off. You might need to use a screwdriver, but I obviously just put it on there hand tight. And again, put that somewhere safe. And on this side there's a kind of plastic foam wheel, which again I've never used. And on this side you'll notice that the threads, incidentally, are just normal normal handed threads, not They're as you'd expect them to be. And what I'm going to put on this side, hopefully, is a cloth wheel. And what this is for, and what that's for, is it works exactly the same as the hard felt wheel on the other side, except that this is good for getting into more shaped bits of work that you've done. So you might have a little bit of marble with a curve on it or a groove in it, and that one's much better for getting into things like that. So that's the two wheels replaced with things that I'm quite keen on using. The cloth wheel flying through the air. Now, we're not going to replace the side piece. We're not going to put that back on, and we're not going to put back on the bit that runs the drive shaft, the flexi drive. What we're going to put on instead is one of these. It's a Velcro hook and loop, I think Americans call them, polishing pad, rubber backed pad, and it's got an M10 fitting. The only size I could find that had an M10 fitting is this 3-inch size. I would have preferred 4-inch, but actually in fact it works perfectly well. That just simply spins on there. And now what you've got is a marble polishing workstation. On this end you can put your discs, your stick-on diamond polishing discs, and you can shape and polish your small piece of marble. And then here you can choose whichever wheel you want to give it the final buffing up. I've already used this and it works a treat. Let's go through one or two details. The size of the board is governed by a tray. There it is. The length of the tray governed the length of the board. Eventually I'm going to fix the tray in place and sort out a water supply, but for now I'm quite happy to use a little pot of water and just dip the marble pieces in and out, and that's worked perfectly well. And in fact I can show you something I made, which is that it didn't work out as well as I'd hoped from a design point of view, or just one of those things. It didn't work out. I wasn't happy with it. But if you look at that side, what a lovely bit of onyx that is. And that polish was done on this machine, which is pretty cool, I reckon. So what I did, I got the 3-inch disc. I bought that off of eBay with a 10mm, an M10 fitting, and then I bought a full set of 3-inch discs. But you don't have to buy the 3-inch, because in actual fact the 4-inch ones also fit, and they work just as well, maybe in a sense a little bit better. There's an old worn one I've got, and that fits, and that will stay on there. In fact, I'll power up and show you. And there we are. Now you can see, because of the vibration, I'm going to have to work out a way of fixing this in place, but I'll do that. But apart from that, it works really well. And I'll get a little bit of marble, if I've got a bit somewhere. Oh, come on, Steve, of course you've got a bit of marble. There we go. I mean, it's not done yet. I haven't got time in this video to go right the way through it, but you can see that it works. It works perfectly well. The timber, the wooden base, means that this can be clamped into place just with G clamps if I felt the need, but in fact there is no need for that. It doesn't move around that much. The tool itself in use, I think, is incredibly safe because it's just not that powerful. You can actually stop it easily. So you can imagine, your fingers wouldn't get caught in it or whatever, because you'd just be stopping the machine. So I'm really pleased with this. It's a lovely thing to use. It's not a thing to use if you're in a rush, but if you just want to sit there and shape and polish a nice bit of marble, it's great fun, huge amounts of fun. So this is kind of phase 1. Phase 2 will be sorting out the water supply and the water drainage, and I'll show you that in the next video in this series of kitting out my workshop. As I say, this is the first stage of me creating a marble crafting workstation, but even so, even just what I've done now will turn out really nice things with no problems at all, really. I just would like to have a constant dribble of water, because these discs, these little 3-inch discs, were actually bought as wet and dry discs, so they don't have to be wet. But my 4-inch discs tend to be wet discs, so to use those a lot, I need a better supply of water, and I also need to, you know, create something that will contain it so that everything isn't getting soaking wet. If you do decide to do something like this, when you're doing it, as you're doing it, do a bit of risk assessment. Think about where your electrics are, think about where you're getting your water from and where it's going. Just think about all those things and cope with those and do something safe. I think in the next video I'm actually going to make something just using this setup. I'll make a little marble something or other, just so that you can see what can be done just doing this. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find it something use, and I hope you take up marble crafting or stone crafting. If you did enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more about polishing marble and creating stone items and what have you, and shaping and anything to do with marble and stonework, please subscribe. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you again soon, hopefully.